R09.
Welcome back to R09 Studios. This is one of our roundtables, and it's a very special one. This is all about the Rise of Skywalker, and I'll tell you right now, this is a spoiler-filled review.
If you have not seen it by now, don't know what to say.
It's your fault.
And don't watch this.
Yes,
that's right.
Don't watch this if you
Watch our non-spoiler one.
So this is officially our Rise of Skywalker spoiler-filled review. Again, welcome to our R09 Roundtable. I'm here with
Justin.
Kahari.
And just like to start off by saying, man, I loved this film. The Rise of Skywalker did not disappoint. And I'll just point out again that we were right at the beginning.
We were.
Not in our videos, we were right. But
Our original
very first thought was
way
right.
back after Force Awakens. Yes.
But we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. Why don't we just go through and give me your thoughts.
I mean, before even going scene by scene or anything like that, for me, I loved the movie. You guys know I went through and I watched 1 through 8 in a row the weekend before I went and saw Rise. Yeah. So I had all the possible connections like fresh in my head of what it could be. And I think it does a fantastic job of actually tying up the entire saga.
Yeah.
When you watch it like that, it does a job that I don't know that you can appreciate it, but until you really watch it in context with them, there's things that you're gonna miss that you go, oh, that didn't do well. It actually really did tie it up.
Right. Yeah.
But I also, and just the last trilogy, I thought it tied up well.
Yeah.
It gave us answers to things. There's a few little nitpicky things you can do, but let's be honest, Star Wars, we can do that with any single episode, any single generation. I know purists don't want to hear that, but trust me, it's there in the originals.
You can, yes.
So go into it just, hey, it was a good movie. I want to watch more Star Wars. I want it to tell me a story, and it did that.
Yeah. Definitely enjoyed the movie. Thought it was thorough. I'm probably in the minority. There's still a part of me that still liked Force Awakens a little bit better.
Yeah.
But really enjoyed the movie. Finished everything out. Definitely made up for
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi, because I was not a fan of Last Jedi. Some parts were good, but I really liked some connections. I think it also opens up to some possible Star Wars projects in the future, which we can probably talk about as we go.
Yeah. My initial thoughts, like I said, I love this movie. Even going back to Force Awakens, I've said to you guys a couple times that I really felt Force Awakens was what the original Star Wars, I know this is going to get me in trouble with a lot of you out there, but I thought Force Awakens is what the original Star Wars could have been.
Right.
Really could have been if they had the technology and they had the dialogue writing of someone other than George Lucas. Even though
Anakin, you're breaking my heart.
No, that's episode 3. I mean, that's not even original. It's still horrible. Right. But I loved Force Awakens. I'm one of those guys. I'm with Justin. I enjoyed Last Jedi. I get the nitpicky stuff, but I enjoyed it. But this Rise of Skywalker has to be one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
Yeah. To
this point, and I just really loved how they did some things. They surprised me. We said before in our videos that I did not want a redemption story for Ben Solo.
Right, and I didn't either.
And we got it, but it
didn't bug me.
It didn't bother me at all. The way they went about it was really cool, and I love the fact that we got to see Lando and we got to see
Wedge.
We got to see Wedge.
That one, it was so quick.
Yeah, but you got to see it.
You got to see him, which I
got to see Han
Solo again, and the last to carry.
Yeah, there's just a lot to love about this movie. Now, as we're going forward, I think we can kind of break it down a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But now let's go into
the first scene.
I want to introduce that.
Okay.
So now we can really break it down scene by scene, and I just thought it started off with a bang. We didn't know we weren't sure how they were going to start this movie, and did we really want to see everything with Palpatine at the beginning?
Right.
But man, was that opening scene just threw you in.
You know what? And he was more right than we were. I thought it was going to be about 20 minutes or so, and he's like, I think you're going to see him right off the bat.
Boom. It was, I loved it too. I mean, just and you got little things. When he goes in there and in this Sith temple,
Yes.
he goes down and he takes this floating whatever it is, down, and in the background, I thought the cool things you could see in the background as he was walking through, trying to find this voice that was talking to him, and you could see clones of
the Snoke
clones in the background. So we were a little bit right on that. There's cloning involved, somehow, but you saw that in the background, and the whole. The Emperor speaking to him and saying, "I was every single voice that you have ever heard in your head."
Yes,
I thought was amazing. But
that's a great
scene,
line.
What did you guys think of that scene?
I think it was interesting how he offers him everything.
Yeah.
You know, which is really what Kylo Ren wants. So I mean, you're really throwing it right down.
Oh, he's playing to him.
You're throwing it right down his wheelhouse. So. I thought it was interesting how he offered him, you know, the fleet and everything. And, you know, I'm just sitting there and said, "Wow, this is."
He made the fleet come up.
Rise.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You know, I think that an underappreciated aspect of Palpatine is the voice.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, his voice has always been spot on.
I think it's an underappreciated aspect of the character.
Yep.
He talks to you like he's a crook. Like, you know, like it's like you listen to what he says. It's like, you know, he's like, can I believe anything this guy says?
He's a politician,
right?
Yeah. He is. I mean, he
a
plays to his audience, and he knew exactly what he wanted from Kylo Ren at that point.
And every single movie when you watch it, he does. He's
time.
talking to other senators. He's manipulating them. He's talking to the Jedi.
He manipulated Anakin.
Anakin.
He's a master manipulator.
Everybody, and. Like, he was so good at it. Like, Obi-Wan and Yoda and them didn't pay any attention to him until the third movie. And they're like, oh, maybe he's evil.
Right.
But
really,
yeah, that scene, that opening scene, the Jedi, or I shouldn't say Jedi, the Sith temple, just that whole idea. And I know there was a segment of people upset with Palpatine being back. Just, they didn't want him back. He was dead. For me, even as a kid, I never felt he could die that way. I felt that was a very chump way to die. For supposedly the greatest Sith Lord we've ever seen on the, you know, next to, you know, someone like Darth Bane or Sidious that we've never really seen. Bane, I should say.
Yeah.
But that scene just with him attached to the life support stuff and him talking about floating down and visually.
He looked worse than when he got his face melted off.
Yeah,
he's all in there. I'm like, jeez, he's really messed up.
And just visually, the lightning and the thunderstorm going on.
And they don't really give you a really good look at him at the beginning.
No,
which is good. Which is smart.
Right.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah.
And then we jump. You know, then the movie. Jumps away from that.
And it flows. I mean, it moves fast. It's a fast-paced movie.
It doesn't stop.
I guess we should mention too how Kylo even gets there to begin with. Is he finds the Sith tracker, the Wayfinder. Which I was really pumped up when I first saw him have it, because I'm like, oh my god, they're finally gonna bring in the Sith holocron.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was trying to get information, you know, get Sith lore.
Right.
Which is what those are. And then they said it was a Wayfinder, and I was kind of like, oh, It disappointed me a little bit as a fan of that kind of stuff, but it was still really cool.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys realize where he was at when he found that. It was something that if you look at the book that they put out of all the artwork and all that kind of stuff, the visual dictionary, he's on Mustafar. He finds that in Vader's temple.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
That's right.
I remember hearing that.
That's interesting.
So
Mustafar.
It's one of those things they don't explain to us.
Go to the Mustafar. I think that his voice is just it's so good. I guess the only thing I would nitpick is that, okay, so he's at the very beginning of the movie. How does he even know to go here, to find this Wayfinder, to find Sidious?
Well, they talk about that. They say that he's been looking for this Wayfinder.
Right.
Yeah.
And he knows, let's face it, he wants to be
Vader.
the man.
He wants to
be the man.
Yeah, he does.
And so he goes there
Right.
saying he's gonna kill whoever he finds.
Right. He's the
That's
supreme
his
leader at
purpose.
this point.
Yeah, he's the supreme leader.
Yeah.
He's going there with the purpose of saying, I'm the man.
Right.
Get out of my way. I'm going to take you down.
Yeah.
But that's where the
Palpatine.
politician's
The
like,
politician's like,
Palpatine's
no.
wait a second. I can make you
more powerful,
Yeah.
right? He offers him more.
So that opening scene was just great.
Yeah.
And like you said, we jump now to our heroes.
Yeah.
And I just thought one thing I had said before that I really wanted to see is I wanted to see our heroes together.
Yes.
And
they are.
Yeah, they are together. And that opening scene though with Poe,
Mm-hmm.
after it jumps over,
Yeah.
and you get to see him hyper skipping,
Yeah.
Right.
was just great. I mean, it's something we've never seen before.
No.
And Ray gets ticked off at him.
Right. The
What?
ship can't handle that.
You're hyper skipping, through space in the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
The Falcon.
Yeah,
Right.
the Falcon. And so it was cool. It was a cool scene.
Was.
Visually, it was just really cool.
Yeah, that opening planet, that ice planet was,
Yeah.
or ice, whatever it was, meteor, I don't know,
Yep.
was cool.
Yep. And you got to see the interaction between Finn and Poe a little bit more.
Yes.
And just to see everything in that scene and see our heroes, like you said, it's fast paced. It jumped right into this. Wasn't a rescue mission, but
Right.
it was an information
Yes.
mission.
Right.
Yes.
And they got what they needed and they got out of there.
That creature, that alien or whatever that gives it to him,
Yeah.
that was Mark Hamill's voice.
Was it? Oh, that's cool. It's that
okay.
too.
I didn't like some of these little things, you find out after you watch it and you're like, okay, now I'll read the
That's
spoiler
cool.
stuff. Yeah, that was his voice too, that alien. So it was kind of cool that you get that other little piece of Mark
Yeah.
Hamill there,
Yeah.
since he is known for doing voice acting too.
Right. So that was
So.
cool.
But and then we get Carrie Fisher at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
And it was one of those I was really curious to see how they were going to do that.
They did an excellent job.
And they did. It felt, there were parts of it I felt, ooh, that was a little weird because it was just like one line from her.
Right.
But that's all you have to work with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
right.
didn't have a lot to work
And
with.
I thought they did a good job though.
Given the circumstances, the way they
Yeah.
weaved her into the storyline, I thought was phenomenal.
and having other people fill in what she meant by that line when she
Right.
would say it.
Yeah.
And then like filming things over their shoulder and just seeing a shot of her. Like she was in the scene, but we know obviously she wasn't really there.
Right.
So
Yeah, they did a good job paying her tribute, and we'll get to
How
how it ends up.
Yeah.
But I thought that was they really paid respects to her.
yeah, I
in
did
that.
too.
And then I love the whole desert scene.
Yeah.
When we get there, we get to this desert, and they're on a mission to find information.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, and they at this point they have heard that Palpatine is back.
Right.
Right.
So what are we gonna do
Right.
to go find and stop him?
So
Right.
They have to find the Sith Wayfinder.
Yeah, so they have to go for it, which brings up what could be potential. There's potential for Disney to go into, how Luke and
Right.
Lando
We're looking for
were
it.
looking for this,
Yeah,
which was
absolutely.
really cool. Which could be another. I don't know. I heard possibly it was a cartoon
Which would make sense if,
using Mark Hamill's
I know
voice.
people had a lot of issues with recasting Han Solo, so I can imagine we're gonna do young Luke
Yeah,
and
not gonna
recast.
work.
We're gonna get rid of Mark Hamill.
Right, not gonna
Just
work.
cartoon and let him voice it and make people
Yeah.
happy. So
So that whole scene there, I thought was really well done, but also really important
yeah,
because you got a little bit of a tie-in of the Mandalorian
yeah,
in that scene, because the first time we saw anybody heal somebody with the Force
was 2 days prior.
was Baby Yoda,
Right,
Right.
healing one of the other characters in the Mandalorian,
right,
and then you go into these tunnels underground. They get sucked into these tunnels underground after they have their fight with the stormtroopers, and
Right.
and they say, "What? They fly now?" And,
Right.
Right. I thought
Well, I
that
think-
was such a good line.
I think
Yeah.
even before you get to that, we're kind of skipping there's that party, that festival,
Oh,
which
yeah,
was
that's
kind of cool. It
too.
felt very Ewokish. It
Yeah,
felt
uh-huh.
very.
It was Star Wars.
It was Star Wars,
Yeah.
but that's where we get Lando.
That's where Lando comes in.
Right.
Yeah, he comes to help him
So
out.
that's the first time we get to see him in this movie. So
The
I don't want to skip over that
the
because
stormtroopers are looking for them, and,
Yeah.
and Lando pulls them right in. And I love the tribute with the very same mask he had on.
You knew it was Lando.
Right,
That
right.
was
You
cool.
knew it was Lando because you
Uh-huh.
saw the mask. You said, "Okay, we know where they're going with this
Right.
one."
Yeah.
Right.
And then going down that tunnel. Then after
Yes,
that, after
yes.
they get some information that maybe this is leading us somewhere. So they go and they search and they find this old ship that's down there.
right,
And then they find this big
Snake-like creature, right?
right.
That's been
And-
eating people.
And Rey lays her hand on this creature and heals it.
Yes,
And then it decides it's not going to eat him.
right, right.
Because she helps it. So you really get that tie-in from the Mandalorian in that.
And in that tunnel we get the ship they find and everything is an old Sith ship,
Yep.
and so they get the dagger,
The Sith dagger.
which basically is kind of their wayfinder then.
Yep.
Which leads to a huge plot.
Because
piece.
of C-3PO.
Because of
and-
C-3PO, yeah.
That was really cool. So that brings us to C-3PO in general. I mean, I thought his storyline was really well done also.
Yeah.
It was interesting because, the rest of the series, all we hear is C-3PO being able to translate this or communicate in every language, and then all of a sudden it's like,
He cannot.
I cannot translate that. That's not part of my programming.
Right. They're like, what do you mean? No, I can read it. I can't translate it for you.
It violates his program.
It's almost like it took me back to the Council of Elrond in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf recites in the Black Speech of Mordor.
Okay.
And Elrond says, never has that been uttered here before. It
Right.
kind of just reminded me of that whole concept, like, wait a second, this is not something that they should be saying.
Right.
And C3, it's even programmed into the droids
Right.
of the
that
Rebel
he's not
Alliance.
supposed to be saying.
He cannot
yeah.
translate that Sith language.
He shouldn't be telling people.
Yeah.
I think my biggest thing with C-3PO, if I can talk,
3CP.
for me, he finally felt like C-3PO
Of
again.
old, right?
He felt like the original one. His lines, his comments, his jokes, his deadpan felt
Right.
like he should have felt.
Yeah.
Like,
It was C-3PO.
and it just, we got a little bit of it in Force Awakens, but he felt very sad and down all the
Right.
time in that movie because he's missing R2. But even if you go back, like, the prequels, he doesn't feel like
No.
C-3PO. He
Yeah.
just doesn't. Like, he's there, but it's not him. So this finally made me feel like that's who we've been waiting for
Right.
again.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
cool that it's the same actor. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, all of them.
Anthony
yeah.
Daniels.
we have
all the way
it.
through.
Like, he got to go all
It's
the
really
way
cool.
through.
It's really
So
cool.
it's cool, like, seeing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You get to think about guys who made it, or ladies who made it through all the movies.
And then after we get C-3PO and we hear about the Sith dagger and all that stuff, we go back to the surface of this planet, and then we get that scene that was the very first scene we ever saw from Rise of Skywalker,
Right.
where Rey and Kylo Ren kind
Kylo
of have
Ren,
this thing, and you thought it was going to be this huge showdown, and it kind of was,
Right.
but she jumps over, she
Slices the
slices
ship.
the ship in
sends him
half, which was
flying out.
sweet.
Yeah.
And then we find out that the Knights
Ren.
of Ren are there.
Yes.
And they grab Chewbacca.
Uh-huh.
And then they're trying to fly off, and
And
we
that's
get this.
She takes that
this
light.
battle.
She goes there and uses the. And I love that. I love that part where she's using the Force.
And they're trying.
Kylo's using the Force,
And
and they're both trying
Yep.
to pull
Yeah.
ship. And then when that lightning shoots out of Rey's
You're
hand,
like, oh!
you're like, okay,
Yeah.
she's a Palpatine.
Yep.
Yep, that was our first clue.
Yes.
And you get that moment, but then they hit you, and then it hits you. Wait a second, Chewbacca died.
Right. He just was on
And
that
it's
ship
like-
that blew up.
Right.
You're like, oh my gosh, and Rey
Yeah.
feels it,
And
Uh-huh.
everybody
and
feels
it starts
it.
to potentially like really take her to a different place.
And my kids, my daughter Chloe, or my daughter Molly, and my son Caleb and Ryan, they were like
What's going
devastated.
Did they
I
just
think
kill
I think
Chewie?
Caleb
Right.
started crying.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, just wait.
Just
We
wait.
don't know yet.
Right.
We don't know yet, and
Right.
it really seemed like
Right.
Chewbacca was gone.
Spoiler:
Right.
he didn't die.
Right.
Right.
And when you go back and watch it, there are two ships there to begin with.
Yeah, but you just
you
don't
forget
think
about
that.
it during their battle, and like
Yeah,
she's like, Chewie, I gotta get him back, you know.
and Chewie couldn't go out like that
No.
either. So you had to figure, okay. And I was kind of in the back of my mind thinking, there's no way. There's no
Right, they
way.
wouldn't do it that
There's
way.
no way.
Right.
But yeah, that whole scene was fantastic, and that struggle between Kylo Ren and Rey was great. And you do get that Force lightning. You're like, oh my gosh, the only other time we've ever seen this is from Palpatine or Count Dooku.
Right. Right. It's a Sith power.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting at that point where then she says, "Man, you don't know me."
Yeah.
I don't know me.
Yeah.
You know, like I thought that was
that comes back into play when Kylo Ren goes, I know you.
Right.
Right.
Right. You know, I think that's so interesting because what I think is so special about these newest ones, especially in episode in Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, the dialogue between Finn and Rey is so good.
Yeah.
And even when they're having that conversation,
So good.
even they're having that conversation about what happened on the ship with Chewie, you know, and she said, "You don't know me."
Before we leave this planet, and actually a little bit further back than where we got to with C-3PO, we also get this moment when they're sinking in this quicksand or whatever it is before they go down the tunnels.
Yeah.
We get this moment where Finn wants to say something to Rey, and they just fall under before. And everybody had all these different thoughts of what he's going to say. Is he going to say "I love you" or whatever?
Right.
But I thought this during the movie,
Right.
and there's just been a whole bunch of clues for it, and it's now confirmed that he was going to say to her that he's basically Force sensitive.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have said it that way, but he's going to say he can
I
feel
can
it.
sense it.
Yeah, I
or
can
feel
the
it.
Force, and we get that throughout the movie and the other ones. Now that we're looking back,
Yeah, now that you look back,
you kind of
can
see those
some
things from him. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool too, that they brought him into that, and also just helps us realize that it's not just this family
Right.
that is Force sensitive. I know we all know that, but the story is about the Skywalkers and the Palpatines, and
Right.
like, oh, they're not the only ones that are Force sensitive.
Right,
so
but so much of the entire 9 movies has really
it's
been
about
those
that.
two.
So it just reinforces that the world is a lot
Yeah.
bigger. The Star Wars world is a lot bigger than this. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and then we get off planet. They figure out that, 3PO tells them, I can tell you, but
You have to wipe my memory.
you basically have to wipe my memory to do it.
Yeah.
And they're all like, no, we can't do that. And that's where you get that moment of, okay, is this the end of 3PO then?
Right.
And he says, They're like, what are you doing, 3PO? I'm taking one last look at my friends.
Right, when he gets to the
Yeah.
planet. And it's like him, he goes through that moment,
right.
like they ask him, I forget the exact wording, and they ask him, and he's like, everything that's happened, if I don't do this, is for nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Which is so cool.
Just kind of implying everything in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Everything.
7, 8 is
Everything.
completely pointless if he doesn't help them stop Palpatine at this point.
I think
Yeah,
the part
that was
I think the part that's so eerie about it is when his eyes turn red.
Yeah.
And then his voice goes to this
different place,
different place. And then we find
But we get that planet.
right. We get the location of where they can find
Which brings-
that's Wayfinder.
And
but-
brings us, before that, I mean, we get to the planet where
Right.
how they're going to crack him, and
How
that gives us 2 new characters.
Right.
How are they going to reset his memory to get that information? And that
Right.
gives us, can't remember her name. I know she's played by Kerry Russell,
Yeah,
but
Kerry Russell's
she has the helmet on pretty much the whole time.
The
which
whole
was
time. Yeah.
interesting.
You only
see
get to see
her
her
eyes.
eyes. That's
and we
it.
know her and Poe have something going on.
Yeah, that they were obviously together. We get the realization that Poe was a smuggler at one point.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
that same idea of Han
Yeah.
before he joined the Resistance and realized there was more to
A lot
it.
of parallels there. Mhm.
So we get that, and we get the new character, the Babu Freak or Babu
About
Frick.
Yeah.
Who,
that was a cool little character.
Hilarious.
Again, just an interesting side note: the voice, Moaning Myrtle.
Yeah, Moaning Myrtle. Yeah,
from
I
Harry
heard that
Potter.
too. Yeah.
So just
Okay.
a weird, interesting thing, nerd kind of
Oh, yeah, for
instant
sure.
there. And then I don't know. I would assume you probably figured it out, but you may not. When they go into the bar to go back and see Babu Frick, the bartender. Did you catch the bartender? He has a old man patch on his eye. I don't know. Like they show him, and he's kind of like in the back. It's John Williams.
Oh,
Really?
oh,
Yeah.
that
Didn't
is
even-
awesome.
So they
I
gave
didn't
him.
catch it.
Yeah,
Catch that.
they gave him And I say he might have caught it because he's a big music guy.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's John Williams. I was like reading
That
after
is
the fact.
awesome.
So there just another little cameo where they gave this guy who did music for every
All the
single
movies,
Star Wars. They gave him that moment to be a character in
That's
Star
really
Wars
cool.
I
too.
thought that was cool.
That's
So,
cool.
that
I
was
thought
cool.
J.J. Abrams does a good job with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Very
You
smart
know,
with that.
paying tribute to all these people.
So I mean, but we get on that whole planet. The First Order's there, and it's a mess, and they got to get in and out, and
But that's where we get the confirmation of
Yes.
who Rey is.
yes,
When she has that moment with Kylo Ren,
the
where
link.
the link happens again.
Such
And, but she goes-
a good scene, but
she
it just
goes up to
shows
his
how
ship.
he is so smart that he can't figure out where she's at, but he gets her so angry.
Yeah,
That it
It's-
slips her up, and
Right,
he finds
right.
out
He's
where
like,
she's
"Oh,
at.
you're on my ship."
yeah,
Right, and then he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm coming back now."
right. Which was that whole scene was great. That fight scene in there was really
And
good.
she destroys Vader's helmet in that process of that.
Yeah, and that's how he find. Oh, she's in my quarters.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and there are other little things in there, like you saw Chewie's clothes.
Right. Right.
And his crossbows in there and
Yep.
all that stuff,
Yeah.
which was cool in Kylo Ren's quarters.
Yeah. So that was definitely cool. Progressed the story, gave us some stuff, and it was a nice little just kind of back and forth battle while
Yeah.
they're talking.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that was good.
And it does set up later. Kerry Russell's character tells Poe, "You're not as alone as you guys think you are."
Right.
Yeah.
Just kind of it sets that up for
Right.
later in the movie.
Right, which comes
So.
back. That was cool.
I think also important too is just how Kylo Ren tells Rey, like, you will take my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
you will in the end.
Right, and I think that's really important as the movie progresses.
Right. And she at that point she's like, "No,
No, I'm not taking.
I'm not taking your hand. It's not happening."
Yeah, that was super cool. That was
So-
a great scene.
But and of course the most important part is that we get the location they got to go to find,
The Sith
Wayfinder.
right?
Wayfinder.
and it makes sense where it's at,
On the Death Star.
which is on the remnants of the Death Star.
Yep.
So
And that whole scene, we get another new character in there that I think might be important in the Star Wars universe as we go forward.
yeah,
There's a lot of rumors that this was Lando's daughter,
right.
but we also find out these are other stormtroopers
That
trained to
broke
be
away.
stormtroopers
That
that broke away,
away,
which
right.
made Finn feel more comfortable
But
with
that
who he
that
was,
He did
Right.
the right thing.
and that he did the right thing. So that whole the Death Star scene we get is absolutely fantastic. Also, because you get so much in that little bit. You get to see Rey say like, "No." They're like telling her to wait. And she's like, "No,
I'm
I
going,
gotta
I
do
have
this.
to."
I gotta do this."
She's got to get in there.
We get the Dark Ray vision.
Right, which is very reminiscent of Luke in the
Yes.
And Empire Strikes Back.
yeah, in the cave.
Yep. And so
Kind of idea.
you get all that, and then Kylo Ren is there.
You get the battle. You get the battle between the two of them that you
wanted. You wanted, and you saw, and he just crushes the Wayfinder.
Yes.
He just crushes it.
Yeah, he basically just takes it from her,
Yep.
and at that point she flips out.
Right. Right.
So, and then the battle starts
And that's a lot of the stuff we saw in the previews was this battle on the remnants of the Death Star.
with the water.
Which
the water
which
splashing
they
by.
lead you to believe is at the end of the movie.
I know.
And that's
it
and
wasn't.
it's not.
It's not. It's
Middle,
smack
basically.
dab in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think it's important too is that she said she makes the comment, "I want to take Ben Solo's hand,"
Yeah.
which I think is interesting. You know, from that standpoint, because now you realize, okay, she really did like this guy.
Yeah.
Or at least that she feels like
Cared about him.
she can bring him
back.
back.
She did always want to save him.
Yeah,
Right.
she wanted to save him. Yeah, she
Like
wanted
that
to
was
take Ben
always
Solo.
her in Force Awakens. She went with Han to try to save him
Yeah.
because Han's whole mission was, I think I can still reach him.
Right, and then even in Last Jedi, she's saying, "Don't do this."
Don't
Right. She's still trying to
She's
save
still
him.
trying to save him, right?
But that battle on part of the Death Star in the water, it's a cool battle. There's visually, it's just
Yeah.
beautiful.
Great. Yeah.
But it has some very powerful moments that hit right at that time.
Yeah.
Because it's as the battle's going, we get cuts to Leia.
Yeah.
And she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And she knows that if Kylo wins this fight, basically, I think through the Force, she kind of knows he's gone.
Over for him.
It's over. This is her last chance.
Yep.
And she basically lays down and projects,
uses the last of her force,
her energy, whatever,
her life,
to show him that she still cares.
Yep.
And at that moment, Rey stabs a lightsaber through him.
Kylo Ren's own lightsaber.
Right? And so as she dies, he's dying.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh, did she not get there in time? Did she not send that to him in time?
And then Rey comes over.
Right.
And heals him.
And
then you get...
And then leaves him there.
Yeah, and then leaves him there. And then you get probably... And his lightsaber.
Right.
And then you get this amazing scene.
Him and Han Solo.
Just, even just Ben Solo by himself for a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get this... And I think... I said it right out after I saw the movie. I thought Adam Driver was the best.
His emotions in that scene, his face in
unreal.
that scene.
It's unreal. I mean, he just
was
does
good.
so good
job,
with
Adam.
that. And it was one of those scenes that you just remember.
Yeah.
And you get this moment, and he knew, you could see in his face that he knew that his mother helped save him,
herself to
helped save him.
Yeah.
And along with Rey healing him, but it saved him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets this moment where he's talking to his dad again.
Yeah.
Which is a great moment. And I didn't expect Harrison Ford at all.
No, because you know that, like, we don't necessarily know was Han Force sensitive or not. We obviously know there was no way that he was going to be a Force ghost like the Jedis.
Yeah.
So we kind of get this, and you kind of go, is it just completely in, is it a memory? Is it just him thinking about it? Or was that part of her sending that last Force?
I think
did she make that connection, like, remember who you are, remember who you're from, and kind of sent that vision of him to Kylo? And I don't know.
It's a nice feeling. It's actually a nice feeling to think that.
Right, that she
projected
that was part of her projecting that into him.
Which was...
to make him remember.
Which was great. And that's where we get his decision.
Yeah.
He says, this is not who I am, and I'm going to be who I am. And so he's Ben Solo again.
Yeah.
And which was just, it was great. And I didn't expect I'd like it, but I did.
And it pained me when he gets rid of the lightsaber.
He throws into the water.
That was so painful to me.
I know. It's such a cool lightsaber.
I love that lightsaber.
So painful.
It is cool.
So painful.
And for the sake of keeping this under 2 hours long.
Right.
You know, they prepare for battle.
Right.
You know, they know.
Before we get to that, one last thing with
Yeah.
it. We got to get the moment where Chewie finds out.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
And he drops to his knees and he's screaming at the sky.
It was more painful to him than Han.
Right.
You know, that's the way it looked like. Oh
right.
My
like,
gosh.
he yelled when Han did and he just starts blasting.
Yeah,
like, he
angry.
finds out about Leia and he's just
devastated.
Gone. He's just a mess at that moment.
Yeah.
And I, like...
What a great... Oh, that was a great
such
moment.
a great moment. Such a great thing. And before we get to the battle, we get her kind of funeral almost idea. And I thought it was interesting, and I figured it was probably what was going to happen is that Billie Lourd, her daughter, who we saw in Force Awakens, we saw a little bit at the start of this, we saw a lot in Last Jedi,
right?
Wasn't in that scene. She's not around that bed at all. And it was one of those moments I went, I bet she couldn't do it.
Wow.
like for her that was a real
Right,
moment.
that was a real moment.
And so, like, I don't know that they even asked her to be in that.
Probably
And there's a
right
good
decision.
chance that JJ was like, nah, I don't want you here for
I don't
that.
even want to go down that rabbit hole.
You know, so it just seeing that,
What a-
realizing that
yeah.
she wasn't there in that scene was pretty interesting. Now we can get to the battle.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was good you brought that up. That's such a great scene. But
Yeah.
we jump ahead a little bit, and that they're preparing for this fight, and they all know where to go now. They have to use the Wayfinder because Rey actually knows where to go at this point.
Yes.
And leads them there.
Leads them in. She goes
On
in,
her own.
Yeah, on her own, and leaves a trail
For them to follow.
for them to follow. And she goes off, and she knows that it's really coming down to her at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes in, and this whole ending to this movie, there's so much to it. There's the idea that she's going down, and she goes into this Sith temple, and you see her walk in, and you get the Emperor's throne, which was from the original concept art of when they were going to put the Emperor's
Yes.
throne in before.
Yes.
And you see this huge throne, and then here comes the Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Kind of floating in.
Floating down. And you don't know what's going to happen. This is where it kind of surprised me. Like, this is nothing we thought.
Right.
And you hear from the Emperor, he finally, calls her granddaughter.
Right. Your granddaughter.
And he's telling her, like, I've been waiting for you to come.
Right.
And all of this has led you to me.
Right.
And take your place. You can take your place by my side.
Right.
And is willing to offer up.
Basically, what he offered Kylo is
Right.
in charge of everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Which just plays to
Yeah.
how he is. He's not. He wants it what he wants.
Yeah.
And no matter
He's
what
never
he
gonna
says,
give up his power.
No, he's not giving up his power. So you don't know. At that point, I want to say that I knew Rey would resist.
Right.
But in the back of your mind,
There was no doubt in mine.
I don't know, because Ben turned back to good.
Right.
I just think coming towards the end of the movie,
I know.
I said, you knew there was going to be a showdown. There had to be a showdown.
Yeah. But you always thought, I didn't think what we saw on the Death Star between Ben and Rey was their showdown.
Right.
You almost thought, okay, there's more to come.
Right.
And then he turns, it's like, well,
Right. They're not going to have that showdown now.
But that whole idea of what the Emperor's trying to do
Yeah.
was really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just
get both of them. Well, not to get ahead,
You're
but
coming together is your undoing.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's I think this goes to Palpatine's genius, but I even think so too. Getting her as powerful as she was, leaving her orphaned, leaving an angry side inside of her so it can surface.
right. He basically kills his own son or daughter. We don't know which one was.
Right, and this brings her to this point, which is where I thought was the ultimate plot twist. He needed both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To absorb
both.
Which you don't realize until that moment. Hits.
right? And
then he just
slurps it out of him. And the old Palpatine, when he got his face melted, his back.
I know, you're like, oh my gosh.
I love that as we get to that battle and she's there and she's watching.
Great shot when she's looking up at him.
She's looking up at him and he's kind of like, you can't save your friends. It's exactly what he did to Luke. It's exactly Jedi. Luke's looking out the windows.
Rey's
The
looking
rebels are getting blown up. Their ships are being destroyed. Rey's looking up through the top of that ceiling.
And that was after he had pulled the life out of both of them, their power out of them, and he sends this huge lightning bolt into the sky that spreads everywhere.
Yeah, ships are getting destroyed, and it's just like he's giving her that moment of, you can't beat me.
You can't.
Just like he did Luke. You can't beat me.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is how it kind of all ends up then. You get that, I guess even before I get to that, I should really say we get that moment where Rey and Kylo connect again. They make that connection. Kylo's trying to get there, and he gets
Call
surrounded
Ben
by
now.
He gets surrounded by the Knights of Ren.
Oh, sweet.
And he's stuck.
The way she
He's stuck, and he has his hand behind his
the
back.
way she
Like
gives
this.
him the lightsaber.
And she like makes that connection of
Oh.
here's the lightsaber.
And then he pulls it out. And so I saw someone point out, in that scene, you get the moment where Ben isn't looking and he fires his gun at one of them.
Yeah,
he has a gun.
He does.
And that's very Han.
That's very
Solo.
Han. Yeah.
He shoots him like this.
That's true.
And there's a point where he's standing there, and it's the same pose that Han had stood in. So you get a lot of connections. Little things like that
Yeah.
are really cool.
That they did.
So this whole fight with Ben and the Knights of Ren just really starts us off on this amazing ending to this movie.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of this ending to Rise of Skywalker?
Before we even get to that, just real quick, I want to see more of the Knights of Ren. Like they just dispatch them so quick. I'm like, man, like they're not even.
But it just shows you, like, even like, okay, so I was watching Last Jedi, and the fight right after he kills Snoke, and he starts fighting all of Snoke's guards.
Yeah.
The dude, he is strong with the Force.
Yeah.
I think it's very underrated how strong Kylo Ren is and how strong Ben is with the Force.
Him and Rey destroy those guards pretty easy.
Yeah,
Back in
and
that movie.
him specifically.
Yes.
Right. You could see Rey is struggling,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to help her out a couple times. But man, this dude's strong, and so it did not surprise me one bit
how fast they
that he
dispatched
just
them.
dispatched of them.
Right.
Right.
Like, I mean, think how young he is too.
Right.
And
And-
he's young, and he is like leading the Knights of Ren.
Right. And none of the Knights of Ren are Sith either.
Right.
They're just knights.
Right.
They're soldiers basically.
Right.
So
I mean, they're bad dudes, but
I would have liked to see more of
That's
them.
what I guess. That
But-
was my only thing, which takes us to the very end. I know I'm in the minority on this. I wanted to see some type of. I mean, you knew it wasn't coming,
Right.
but you want to see some type of lightsaber duel. To me, it just kind of felt rushed. Where I think his strategy is phenomenal. He brings them together to pull out their power. But I just think
But you weren't gonna see Palpatine fight. With
Yeah, I
the
know.
lightsaber.
Right,
You
right,
just weren't.
right.
Right.
You know, I mean, the last time we saw him fight with a lightsaber was
Episode 3.
Yeah, that was the clue. That was the clue everybody missed. That Rey was
Which
Palpatine.
right in the first.
That's
in the
how
fir-
she
in the-
fights
in-
Kylo. She jabs just like that.
But episode 3 is the last time. He never did it in 4, 5, and 6, so there's no reason for him to do it now.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
it's almost like I'm the Emperor. I'm past that.
Right.
I just would have liked to see him just use other aspects of the Force. You know,
Well, that we never saw the soul sucking.
right,
Right. Almost vampire like.
Right.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. But yeah, that I thought the whole scene was really good. I was surprised. The one thing that bothered me, and it's the only thing that bothered me in the whole movie, because you guys know I like this movie.
Yeah.
But I didn't see a real point of the kissing scene. I mean, I get it. Like, there's moments even in Last Jedi where they, you know,
she liked
that
him though.
she wants Ben to come back with her. She
It's-
wants Ben to come, but like, I don't know.
I think it was very much put in for the Reylo fans. There was a segment of
huge,
people
huge.
that from the beginning, that's what they
They
wanted.
wanted those
That's
two
all
to
they
be
wanted.
there.
They could care less about anything else.
Yeah.
So they're satisfied.
And so
now.
they kind of just gave them that satisfaction and went, they're not together anyways, so
Yeah.
here's your moment. I agree, it wasn't necessarily needed. I could have done completely without it, but
In the theater, I was like, no,
right.
oh come on! Like,
Right.
the whole thing was unbelievable,
Right.
and then that just irked me a little bit.
I the ending for me, I agree. I wish there was a lightsaber battle is in some way,
or just her using more of
Um,
her Force powers against his Force powers or something.
but I was okay with how it ended up coming out and ending. Really, especially because I like the idea of her using both Luke's and Leia's saber
Great
at
symbolism
the end
there. Yep.
and reflecting the lightning back, which of course was how the Emperor looked, the way
How
he
he got
looked in the
the-
first
right,
place.
From Mace Windu.
From
Right.
Mace Windu reflecting the lightning
Yep.
back. And so it's also kind of fitting that
Ironic,
he
it's
basically
irony.
Yeah.
it's irony, and he basically is his own undoing. His
Yeah.
lightning destroys himself.
Yeah.
He destroys himself in the end.
Yeah,
I
he
think-
he disintegrates like Voldemort did.
Yeah.
Not in the books, in the
I think it's interesting though how it's so Palpatine to bring them together because he needs them together.
Yeah.
To absorb their it's so Palpatine. He's
To be playing everybody the whole time.
He's one of the most calculated. He's one of the most calculated villains
Yeah.
you'll ever see. He's just very good in getting them together because he had to have them together.
Yeah, you had
To be able to pull the energy from both of them
Yeah.
to restore at least this part of him.
Do you think he really thought that Rey would just surrender herself? Like, because that was at first before Ben was there.
I think
it was like,
trying to talk her into it.
yeah, like here, come on, you can. But you're gonna be the most powerful. No, that's some bullcrap.
But that's how he is. He's so
No.
good. The more you say do it, somebody like if you say
Do it.
right, if you say it to Kylo Ren, he might have done it. But you say it to Rey, it's just no.
I don't know. She gives you that apprehension, like she
does,
might.
yeah.
And I
'Cause
wonder.
this is her grandfather.
And well, it's not only that. It goes back to Return of the Jedi. Luke, if you really want to say it, Luke turned. Luke was evil at that point. He was. He was about to chop Palpatine down like that.
Yeah.
Only thing that stopped him was Vader putting a lightsaber in the way.
Completely against the Jedi way.
Everything
Yeah.
against the Jedi way. He was going to take the Emperor out and didn't care.
Which is part of the whole gray
And
Jedi.
and you almost get that fact of, because you get that same idea, and I don't remember if we mentioned it earlier, where she's looking at the planes and he's like, you have to join me. It's the only way they're surviving this.
Right, same thing that Luke.
And it's the same thing he told Luke. All your friends are out here dying.
You
What are you
want
going to
this.
do? You want
Don't
this.
you?
So he's
Great-
kind of
great
playing that
line.
same way, and she's almost like, maybe I have to save my friends,
Yeah.
join you. So she almost does it until she senses Ben.
Yeah. And
And then that's what snaps her
Yeah.
from not doing it.
Yeah.
So she comes closer, I think, than
Yeah.
we necessarily realized at the time when you think back on it.
Rey's an interesting character.
Yeah.
I did hear a rumor that they're gonna do another trilogy with Rey 5 years after Skywalker.
Be curious to see how that plays.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these are all just rumors at this
Right.
point. We don't know anything.
Story for another day.
Which I think the last of that end scene is.
I
all
love
those-
how he shoots.
shoots the lightning out.
Shoots
That's
the
it.
lightning
Yeah.
into the sky.
I'm still curious. I still haven't fully figured it out. Maybe I need to just watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, you get all those Sith in the stands.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
who are they?
Are there really Sith
Are they
there?
really there?
Or part of me feels like it's like the ghost of Sith
Sith
past
past,
Yep.
right?
kind of idea at this temple, and it's
Yep.
like I don't know that we
'Cause
know
then they're
or
just
we will
gone.
ever know.
And there's also something about the pit that Ben was thrown down into.
Right.
There's something about that, and I read a little bit about it, and I can't quite remember, but there's something about that pit that someone said that potentially Ben, Kylo Ren could come back. Something happened down there.
Okay.
So that's something to look out for too. I don't quite know, but
yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go.
yeah. I mean, I think the overall, looking at the whole movie,
Mhm.
Rey's journey, I thought they did a really good job at just
her
completing
journey.
Rey's journey, and that the final, really the moments with her that stood out at the end is just like when she is hearing the voices of Jedis of the past,
Yes.
and just her acting in that scene, I thought was really
Yeah.
really good.
And you get some that aren't in the movies in there too.
Yeah, I know,
Which
you
was
get-
nice.
Yeah, Ahsoka, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, she was in that. You get another one of
You
the
get-
female Jedi. I just can't remember who.
Qui-Gon's in it.
One of the ones from episode 1, 2, 3. I just can't remember who it was
Yeah,
now. One of
but there's
You have to listen to it over and over again
yeah,
and
there's
catch
quite a
it,
few
but-
voices in there, which is really cool.
But
It's
that
cool to
that
hear.
was cool. And then of course we get the very end of the movie, which is her taking the lightsabers
yeah,
basically to Tatooine,
burying them.
to Luke's home, the Skywalker Ranch,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
and burying them in the sand. It was a little weird for her to bury them in the sand and not like
right.
inside one of the buildings, but she buries them, and that lady asks her,
And
you
we
know,
get
who
the
are
Rise
you?
of Skywalker
And we get the Rise of
moment.
Skywalker moment. And, so we get that final kind of wrap to everything.
Yeah, and I think that was pretty cool. You kind of wondered where they came up with this name, Rise of Skywalker.
And you don't find out until the very
Right,
end of the
that
movie.
caps it for. I mean, you could see like, okay, you see what they're doing.
Right.
But until the end, you're like, okay, I get it. It's not necessarily where or who you're born to. It's
Right.
who you've become.
It's who you become and who has accepted you as their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool moment, even for like kids in the real world that are adopted and
Right.
they're going into a new family. So I thought that was kind of cool. They added that
Right.
element into it.
I do wish all of them would have been there at the end, ghost-wise.
I was
Not
waiting
just-
for it. I was
not
waiting for it.
Right. I want to see Anakin,
Right.
Yoda, Qui-Gon. I
Right.
want to see. I want
I
to
was
see
waiting
all
for
those
it.
Jedi.
I was hoping for all the Jedi, and then even afterwards, I was like, it could have just been cool if it was just the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
Just Luke, Leia,
That's what I was
Anakin,
thinking.
Ben. Could have just been those four, like, you're
Yeah.
part of my family.
Yeah,
I think they missed the boat on that. They could have really done an awesome shot right there.
it's in the forest when the celebration's going on.
Yeah.
We got to see the Ewoks again, which is kind
Right.
of cool.
And jumping back forward there, Chewie, of course, finally got his medal.
Oh yes.
So
Yes.
the question becomes: is that Chewie's medal, or does Leia maybe leave him Han's medal?
Yeah.
Because you'd find it would be hard to believe that she was holding onto this medal all these years. That was Chewie's. So maybe she finally gave him
Right.
Han since. You know,
Yeah,
he's
that's
not
one
around.
of those
But it was a
characters.
cool moment.
Chewbacca is one of those characters that they're not going to be able to abandon that character.
No,
I think there's going to be more
and
with Chewie.
he survived. Like,
I know.
Well, if they do a trilogy with Rey, you've got
Chewie's going to be
Chewbacca's
there.
going to be
He's
there.
going to be there.
question. I've never looked it up. I'm just curious to how old he technically is at this point.
Oh, they say it.
Because he's around in episodes, 2,
They
3,
say it in Solo.
so on.
It's in Solo.
Okay.
That Han asks him how, because
After they get him out that pit or
he
wherever
can,
he was at.
when he was in the Millennium Falcon for the
Okay.
first time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, he does.
he's flicking all the buttons,
He does.
and because what's her name doesn't know how to help be a co-pilot.
Kiara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't know how to be a co-pilot, and she turns and says, because Han says, do this to help it, and Chewbacca gets up and just reaches around her and does it,
Right.
and she looks back and goes, here, why don't you take my seat? And he says, well, how do you know all this? And
Right.
he goes, I think he says that he's 180
Right.
years old at that point.
Yeah.
So in Solo, he's 180 years old. So at this point, he's over 200.
200,
Right.
yeah. So interesting. I mean, just an interesting thought. But I mean, I think that pretty much wraps the basis of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we could obviously talk forever about
we could.
where we think everything's going and all of that, but we don't want to make the video too long for you
Right.
guys. So
But we are definitely interested in what you have to say about Rise of Skywalker. If you haven't seen it yet, shame on you.
and you shouldn't
But
have watched this.
That's right.
Oh yeah, lots
So
of spoilers.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share our video, like it, comment on it, tell us what you think.
Subscribe
who
to the
your
page.
who your
R09
favorite
Studios.
characters were. What do you think of their journeys and just your overall impressions of the Rise of Skywalker. We hope you enjoyed the video, and like Hicks said, subscribe to our channel and catch some more videos in the near future. This is R09 Studios signing out.